And so I think it's important that you understand the clinical trial process. I'm not saying that the pill is bad. I just want you to think about how to make health decisions for yourself. You want to be especially vigilant, especially staying on top of it. Once I got the information I needed, I started to move in that direction, how to make health decisions for yourself.
In your mind, what would you say to brothers that's not vaccinated or just people in general?
I'm glad to hear you are protected, and thanks for being so honest here on Keeping It 100, because that's what we do. Hey. Welcome to Keeping It 100. We are your source for all health information that matters to our community. I am your host, Dr. Kristin Motley, and of course, we have an amazing show in store for you today. So sit back, relax, and, soak up all the info. Now, if you think of questions and you want to say something during the show, please enter into the comments. My colleague, Dr. Tyan Thomas, is behind the scenes. She is going to hold it down in the chat for us as always. Now, let's bring in our amazing co-host, Mr. Georgie Mink Jr. Yes, stretch it out.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, G, what's up?
Woo, I'm back. Yeah,
like you never left.
Yeah, right. Had a little rough week last week. I couldn't get on, but it's fine. It's good to be here, Doc. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, Miss Mayfield, we see you out there. Thanks for checking us out.
Hey, what's going on, Queen Lean?
Queen Lean, yes, that's who she is. That's exactly who she is. Queen Lean. I love that. Yeah. G, I know you had an anniversary recently. Happy anniversary.
Oh, yeah, we made it. At 1 year, that's the tough one. So
listen, every year is a tough one. Marriage is just hard, and we're gonna do some shows on love and marriage too. Because
yeah, I think so. I could definitely lead that one, but it's hard.
Listen, so happy anniversary to you and Tracy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. So I know you reached out to Chest Pen and you were trying to get an appointment scheduled, and it was like, call back in 2 weeks. And listen, I had made a call. Did you hear from Chest Pen yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yes, I did. Come through.
Yes, I did, and I appreciate you. So December 20th. And I'll get some footage of going in the building.
Okay.
But yeah, they finally reached out. I'm set up for a physical and just an intro appointment.
Okay,
and,
good.
Yeah. So yeah, we're getting there. We're doing it before the end of the year. We're going into the new year,
Lord.
New beginnings, healthy things going on. And
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, December 20th. So appreciate it.
All right, good. I'm putting it on my calendar too.
So, and I actually been talking to brothers about just getting on the list, because I talked to a couple of brothers last week, and they they feeling the same way, and I kind of I got the interest in going to the doctors, and same issues, no insurance or whatever. So big out the Chest Pen, big ups to them. And I told them to just get on the waiting list. Because if you're not doing it anyway, you might as well name should just be on the list until they call you anyway.
Exactly. Just get on the list so you can get in there at some point. Awesome. And now I was able to check out Sisters on Air. Shout out to Portia. And I saw you on Sisters on Air, 2 weeks ago? That was a good show, Jay.
Yeah.
That was a really good show. Y'all did a really good job.
Yeah, we tore it up. Shout out to Portia. That's my sister. And we hit a lot of nice topics, and everything was community based. Health, children, parenting, dating,
relationship.
I turned into a relationship expert on that, John. Yeah.
That was awesome. So I wanted to just go through a few updates in terms of health and what matters to us and our community before we bring on our guest for today. So one thing that I learned recently is monkeypox is now called Mpox. So we don't call it monkeypox anymore. The Biden administration actually went to fight to get the World Health Organization to change it to Mpox because they didn't want the stigma that's attached to monkeypox since it was discovered in Africa. So now we call it Mpox.
Mm.
That's where we're moving at. But the good thing about Mpox is that it won't be considered a health emergency after the end of January because cases are significantly down. They are way, 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 way down. And so that's a good thing. People responded, people got vaccinated, people changed their behaviors. I know that this highly affected the gay male community. And so they stopped having sex with multiple people in short periods of times. They decreased the amount of one-time exposures and one-time encounters that they were having, and they got vaccinated. So changing behaviors and getting the protection you needed made the difference. And it did the same thing with COVID. You know, we were experiencing thousands of deaths, thousands of cases a week. And now that's significantly lower because we got vaccinated. Now, the precautions have been lessened for a lot of people, but we still got a good number of people vaccinated. We still have a long way to go, especially with the new booster, but we know that these measures work and they save lives, and we have to continue moving in that direction. But how do you feel about this monkeypox change?
I just feel like, I mean, to be honest, they should already consider those feelings from the beginning. I never really understood like the connection with the monkey stuff. I mean, with monkeys anyway, but I mean, I still don't see. I don't know how you just could change a disease. It's still going to be known as monkeypox to me.
It
But
is, but healthcare providers and people in the healthcare community won't refer to it as monkeypox. It'll just be called
right,
mpox.
right,
It's the
right.
same
Okay,
disease.
okay.
It's just that the name has changed so that people aren't being stigmatized
I
since
get
it
it
is
a
a
little bit.
disease that
I get
started in
that.
Africa. Hmm.
I get that. But I mean, I'm also glad that we diffused it. I mean,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
looks like it was getting ready to just take over COVID's place. And we were just getting ready for the next one. I was like, oh my God.
Here we go. Here we go.
Right.
Nah,
But
that
I
thing got
mean,
shut down quick.
shout out to them diffusing it and the
Yes,
public handling business and all our physicians and scientists, whatever it took.
yes.
So, I mean, I think we kind of learned from COVID. It taught us a lot of things on how to handle certain things and how to be more prepared. So I'm more happy about that, the way it's handled and the decreasing in numbers. Because I haven't heard monkeypox since you just said it, Doc. Since
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
September or something. So
Yeah.
so that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I think we're only looking at about 7 cases per week now, and we were
Wow.
up to like 400 cases per week
Right.
back in the summer. So we've come a long way. I do want to address a question. I see Ms. Lean asked Queen Lean, excuse me, madam.
Yeah, yeah.
Queen Lean asked a question about getting the guys qualified for Obamacare. And I want to say this is a perfect time to do it. So for people that do not have insurance, now is the time to get on a health insurance plan, because if you don't do it now, I can't remember the cutoff or the deadline. I think it might be January 15th. It might be the end of the year. I can't remember, but it's coming up in a few weeks. And if you don't get on it, you cannot get insurance for the rest of the year unless you start a new job or you qualify in some other way. So now is the time, and you can go to healthcare.org. Dr. Thomas can put that in the chat. You can go to healthcare.org to sign up for an insurance plan. You only have a few weeks to sign up. So go today, see what you qualify for, see how much it's going to cost, call them and ask questions. They have people waiting for calls. So sign up. G, didn't you get on the plan?
Yeah, I'm the no, I try Obamacare was too high for me.
But did you
Like,
try recently? That was like 5 years ago.
no, I did not.
So
So I mean that's
I'm
another
talking to you.
avenue.
Healthcare.org.
Right.
Healthcare.org. Go to healthcare.org. See how much it costs now, because the plan rates change. And
Right.
although it was high a while ago, I know those rates was like crazy a while ago. Check and see what it is now, please.
Dr.
Okay.
Motley, it looks like I'm at healthcare.gov, and it looks like enrollment
Gov. I'm
is up
sorry.
to
Healthcare.gov.
December 15. So we're only
Oh,
like
December
8 days out.
15th. Oh,
If I'm
snap.
seeing that,
That's
yeah,
Oh,
next week.
wow.
yeah.
Okay. So you'll have less than a week. And I'm sorry, it's healthcare.gov, not healthcare.org. Dr. Thomas, my apologies. So if you could put that in the chat, healthcare.gov. But yes, so you have about a week, so you don't have time. You're out of time.
Okay.
You're out of time.
All right.
Today is the day.
Just been for the
Please
win, but it's all right.
listen. You can
I'm gonna
you are
try,
going to
Doc.
go
I
to
mean, it's
Chest
going to be next
Pen,
week, right?
but you still want to look into having insurance, because if you have to go to the ER for something, you don't want to get hit with a bill that could have been prevented if you had insurance that you could afford. Check it out and see how much it costs. If it's too much, then you can't do it. I understand, but don't just not do it.
That's
Don't
true.
just not do it.
And I can't wait for my wife's insurance. So that's true. Yeah.
Don't get me started.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay. All right.
We go to the next topic.
Okay.
Speaking of cases going down, COVID is going up. So I don't know if y'all been keeping an eye on it, but COVID was like living, chilling for a minute. But now COVID is picking back up. We're not sure if it's going to be a surge yet, but it may be. And I know we've been talking about this twin-demic. Well, we're in like a triple-demic because we got COVID, we got the flu, we got RSV, a lot of viruses going around getting people sick right now. The COVID booster, a lot of people don't have their booster yet, especially people that needed the most. People that need the booster to most, y'all listen to me. People who are 65 years age and older, they are dying right now from COVID. Not because they haven't been vaccinated. They have been vaccinated, but they haven't gotten the latest booster, the one that came out in September. People need to get that booster, especially our older adults, our grandparents, our parents, our aunts, uncles, cousins. If you know someone that's 65 and older, check with them, ask if they've gotten a booster. And if not, help them schedule an appointment at a pharmacy to get it. And if they can't get it today, it could be next week, but they just have to get it. Because when you look at who's dying from COVID right now, it's people 65 years and over who do not have that latest booster. So please, please, please encourage your family and friends to protect themselves. Now, when we look at the flu, we've had already, it is just the beginning of December, already 8.7 million cases of the flu already. 4,500 people have died of the flu. Didn't you get your flu shot at the game?
Yes, I did.
Thank you,
At
Lord.
our
Thank you, Lord.
vaccination clinic, Chester High,
All
last
right, good job.
Friday. And it's
So you
actually
good.
the first flu shot I ever got.
Whoop, whoop.
So, I mean, you working on me, Doc. So
Listen,
I
y'all pray for
incorporated this
me.
into my lifestyle. So,
Y'all pray for me. It's like
yeah,
one person at a
yeah.
time
It
over
was
here.
tight. Yeah.
Good job, G. All right, I'm glad, because the flu is knocking them down. Young people are getting really, really sick, missing 2 weeks of school, which means parents got to stay home for 2 weeks. It's just a lot. I'm encouraging you all to do what you can to protect yourself. Oh, I see Mr. Ricks is tuned in. Hey, Tyrone. Thanks for checking us out. Um, so yes, get your vaccinations. These are the things that protect us. I know it seems scary. I know they could be controversial. I would not be telling you to do this if I did not believe in it. I wasn't talking about COVID vaccines until I got vaccinated. So
True.
like this is like, I don't just be jumping on stuff. I be needing to read, talk to people, do my research. And so listen, I would not tell you to do it if I didn't think it was real. So all in all, if you have cold symptoms, please just stay home. If you have to leave, wear a mask, because you don't know what you have unless you get tested. So that's that. Speaking of testing, there's a new website, makemytestcount.org, that the CDC has put out, or I don't know if the CDC did it or the NIH. I can't remember what government organization, but it is from the government. They want people to put in the results of their COVID home test. So people that are testing at home, it's hard to tell how many positives there really are, because now we have home tests. So you don't have to go to a lab to get tested anymore, or a clinic. And so there's no real way to capture those numbers. So they're saying, go to this website, makemytest.org, and put in your results there. How you feel about that?
I got mixed feelings with the home test. A lot of people that I know, they actually don't believe in a home test. Like if they really feel as though they really have COVID or they having symptoms, I'm from the crowd, I'm from the people that I've been dealing with, they rather go to the doctors. The home tests are like a Band-Aid to like the real test to give you some type of mindset. I like the idea, though, I guess, so we can start tracking it. But, I mean, I don't know. How effective are the tests, Doc? I mean, realistically.
The tests work. They're not 100% effective, but nothing is. They work, but you have to use it correctly. So shout out to Kev, Yes God Thomas, for being the actor in my first film, where he is showing you how easy it is to use a FlowFlex home test kit. And those are the home kits that we've been passing out throughout Chester and throughout like Delaware County, thanks to the Foundation for Delaware County and Katie Kenyon. She's been ordering those tests from the state and getting those distributed through the community. So if you are overwhelmed because it comes with like a big sheet of instructions on how to take it, don't worry about that. We got you covered. Check out the link. We just dropped it in the chat. I think Dr. Thomas is putting it over in the chat so that you can have the YouTube link with video instructions that explain how to use the test. Now, the tests are effective. The tests are effective. You just have to use it right, number one. So follow the instructions in the link that's in the chat. And you have to test repeatedly. So if you have cold symptoms today and you test negative, it may be a true negative or it may not. You may have to test. You're encouraged to test again in 1 to 2 days. And so typically when we give out free COVID tests, we usually give you like 3 or 4 tests so that you have enough to test multiple times. I want to remind you, if you have insurance, you can go to the pharmacy, take the test from the over-the-counter shelves, take them to the drop-off prescription area, and you can take 8 tests per person on the insurance plan and have your insurance billed for the tests per month. So 8 tests per month per person. That's a lot of tests that you can get for free. What's covered through your insurance. Just take it to the pharmacy prescription drop-off counter to take advantage of that.
Okay, nice.
Does that answer your question? So they work, but you have to use the test right, and you have to test multiple times to really catch if it's a true negative. I can tell you that when I had COVID, we were testing at home. I tested at home one day and it was negative. By the evening, I tested again and it was positive. So it turned positive because it's not going to be positive until you have enough virus in the body to show up on your test. So for people that have been vaccinated, it may take a couple of days for you to have enough virus, because if you're vaccinated, you should have the antibodies that's like killing off the virus right away. But you'll have some that may come up a few days later. So you have to test multiple times over time.
Wow, that was a good answer, Doc. Wow.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm trying to do my thing.
I see you. That makes sense, though. But that makes sense, though. So it's not really just about the testing. It's about, at the time of frame that you have COVID and how it's affecting your body at that time. Yep. So you want to take pretty much a test every day while you're in the cold symptoms,
or like every other day, as long as you still have symptoms. So you may not have enough tests to test every day, and it's a little burdensome to test every day. Who got time to test every day? I do it because I'm I'm really into COVID and how blah blah blah. But I would say test.
You're a COVID fighter, so
I'm a COVID fighter. I'm a little extra with
over there. Yeah, you're a COVID Avenger. So
Queen Lee said, "Don't be having us on these streets looking crazy. Are they covered by all insurance?" So yes, all insurance in the U.S. have to pay for COVID tests. Now, I mean, as long as you have a real insurance plan. There's some fake insurance plans that don't really hardly cover nothing anyway. As long as it's like a bona fide health insurance plan in the United States, yes, it's covered. And it's covered for people that have Medicaid. It's covered for people that have Medicare as well. Now, one thing that I found, I get all my prescriptions at CVS. And I took all my 32 tests because it's 4 people in my house. 4 times 8 is 32. I took them to the counter and they processed them. They was like, these are not covered. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said they're coming up not covered. So I said, hold 1 minute. So I called the insurance and they said it's not covered at CVS, which to me makes no sense. I get all of my prescriptions at CVS. Why would they not cover my COVID test? So I got to go to Walgreens or Rite Aid to get my COVID test. They playing, I can't with healthcare sometimes.
Right.
They wasted my time is what they're doing. But they're not going to hold me back. I'm going to get my COVID test. I just need to get over to Walgreens or Rite Aid to do it. But So you may have to go to a different pharmacy, but they are covered. And if you can't get coverage, just hit me up. I got plenty of
Right.
tests
Or
from the
hit me up,
doctors
Miss
at the
Queen, and I'll be over town in the alley.
I'll make sure George got some tests in the alley
Great.
over
I'll
town.
keep them Morby, so holler at me, Queenly.
COVID Avengers. Yes, I'm a COVID
Right.
Avenger. So that's that. Now I know we were supposed to have therapist Ryan on today. I'm checking my phone. I don't see he is in. I don't know if he's behind. Is he backstage, Les? I don't know, but I know we wanted to have him talk to us today about. Oh, there's a Ryan. Hey,
Going
Ryan.
on.
How you doing?
I ain't even bring you in right. All
I know.
right.
Start it over, Doc. Start it over.
So
Start
I'm
it
gonna
over.
pretend like you're not here, and we're gonna bring you back in. So, G, our next topic. I mean, this is really serious. I
Yeah.
had saw that Nick Cannon had pneumonia recently. He actually has lupus. I didn't know that he had lupus, but he has lupus, and he has he had pneumonia. He was in the hospital, and he had posted on his Instagram that he was really feeling down about his son that passed away last year around this time. His son was only 5 months. I remember when that happened. It was just so sad to ever, to hear when a parent loses a child. It's like the saddest thing, especially when they're so little. But he posted, how much he was hurting and he was struggling. He can't sleep at night. And, my heart really goes out to him. And I know that the holidays is usually a cheerful and joyous time of year for a lot of people, but that's not the case for everybody. It's just not the case for everybody. So we wanted to bring in family and marriage therapist Ryan McMillan to share, some tips on helping people get through this time when it's not so happy and joyous for everybody. So welcome back, Ryan.
Welcome, good brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks for coming on. We just kind of wanted to start off by asking, like, what are some of the reasons that people find themselves not so excited about the holiday season, aside from grief? Are there any other reasons?
Well, there is. If you're like estranged from your family, I've worked with a lot of people where they are estranged and or didn't really kind of feeling isolated during the holidays, and so there could be some feelings about that, whether it's tension in the family or prior traumas that exist in the family, and therefore it doesn't feel like a really connective time, and as well, they feel alone.
Yeah.
If you have a history of depression, I work with a lot of college students. And so if they are coming home for the holidays, whatever they're walking into at home can be quite challenging. If they were dealing with depression in college, kind of struggling with the semester, they may come home and some of that may carry over. If there's a divorce or a split in the family, you don't have your kids this particular holiday, maybe something like that, where you want to do certain things and so you can't, and therefore you might feel a bit isolated for the holidays as well. And so there's a number of factors outside of loss, but loss is a huge factor, grief in general.
Gee, I know we were talking about this earlier this week, and you had mentioned that this is a time when you think about your grandmother a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it comes up every time. It's like one of her favorite holidays. It was a time when my family wasn't separated. It brings back memories when it was like the old school village, and this was like a festive time in my family. And of course, since my grandma hasn't been here, things are not the same. But it does bring me into not a total depressive state, but it brings me into a sad feeling leading up till Christmas. Because Christmas is just the hype before Christmas actually gets here. Christmas is just the whole month to me. Like while you're shopping, while you're decorating, that's really the Christmas season. It's more than just the day. It's the whole month. So, you're thinking about it all day, what you have to do, you planning. It's more planning than the day. So planning to me is the big part of Christmas. So by my grandmom not being here, it's like, wow. So every year I get reminded of that. So I don't go too deep. So it's like a mild depressive state, to the point where I can control it. But it still comes up, and it's just a natural feeling every year this time of year. So a little heavy there.
I appreciate you for being willing to share that with us, G, because I know it's not always easy to talk about that stuff.
Right.
So thanks. I do want to also bring up something that Ryan mentioned in terms of college students. I see that Queen Lean said that she had a student volunteer who, was struggling with mental health and stopped going to classes, withdrew from her activities with Queen Lean. And I also want to say that I've had students. So Dr. Thomas and I work at the same college, and we often have students write reflections on different topics. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been reading reflections from students who are struggling mentally. They are dealing with some heavy, heavy issues. You would never know it when they come to class, but when you're reading what they're writing, I am having to refer students to counseling. It's tough. I mean, I can't imagine being in college and having to deal with the things that these students are dealing with these days. And COVID has not helped at all. Do you want to touch on that, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a number of college students, they're not looking forward to the gathering of people because there's been a social anxiety, or they might get certain questions like, how's this, how's that? And they really don't want to answer those questions. And so they are a bit more reserved. They, as I mentioned, maybe they have a certain role in the family. And now when they go back home, they have to, when all of us, maybe when we go home and we're in the home we grew up in with our families, we kind of regress into that old role, what we used to do. And so they may have had a role where a lot was expected from them, and that could be behind some of their depression as well. And just kind of having a taxing year. But talking about COVID, a lot of our young people were impacted by COVID, and they haven't fully recovered from just the isolation piece of it. And so there's some lingering effects for them of trying to connect again as a result.
That's very, very true. Now I'm wondering, what can we look for in our friends and family if in terms of how do we know if they may be depressed? Like, what are the signs? What are the symptoms that we could be looking for to know that there could be something off? We may need to do something.
So I just wanted to mention one more thing, and then that question that you just asked is that a lot of people are getting laid off right now, and so financially, like you were talking about, like Christmas is the whole month, but when you can't get things that you're accustomed to getting because the budget kind of leaning into a recession and things like that, you have to cut back. There, like Christmas maybe isn't the same for that family because they don't have the means to do all the things that they want to do. And if a lot of your, like, what makes it significant is being able to give on a certain level and you can't, that could lead to some depression or isolation and feelings there too. So I just wanted to bring that out as well, just given the context that we're in right now.
One more thing, Ryan, to add on to what you just said. I know I talked to somebody about this the other day, and they said they get depressed when they see the commercials with couples giving each other cars.
Oh, wow.
It was a joke at first, but he really meant it. He was like, he said he think that like that commercial is, I don't know. I forgot the actual word he used, but he was like, it's just not normal. And he was just like, that's unfair. That's like a false sense of reality for a lot of people. And even though they're promoting the car and it's a Christmas commercial, he said it's derogatory and it's offensive.
Wow.
So, and he was like, that makes him upset. He said it actually like puts him in an anger state. Like, and I was just like, wow. So I mean, I could see where that can happen, though. Like for certain people that can't afford it, even if they didn't get laid off.
Right.
So just being in a financial status where you might not be able to buy your kids certain things, or you might not be able to buy your spouse, or in position to even really celebrate it, even though it's supposed to be a spiritual holiday, it's all about money, how much money you have and how much you can spoil the people that you love. That's what it turned into, like a concept.
Mm-hmm.
So he flipped it on me and he just turned into a prophet, and I just was like, wow. So I just wanted to add that in too.
Yeah, it's important because what you bring out also touches on like social media, right? Like you see a lot of people sharing stories and memories and experiences and what they did, and and that can bring up a lot of feelings. Even when you see somebody going on vacation, I remember seeing my friends go on vacation. I'm like, y'all going on a lot of vacations,
Right.
Yeah.
and I'm like at home. You know what I mean?
Cool.
So I'm like, what y'all do? What do y'all do when you're going on these vacations?
I
I need
know.
to, change my life a little bit. But a lot of people do compare. I'm not really on social media enough to compare, but a lot of people do comparisons, and they can be really difficult during this time. So some things you can look for though is if
Can I say something real quick? I'm sorry. I just want to add to this conversation in terms of spending money for the holidays. So every year, I would buy everybody something, like my friends' kids, my god kids, my cousins, all the nieces and nephews, my aunts. Like I would because I just love to buy. Like I don't like to shop, but I like the gift giving of Christmas. But this year I cut out everybody and I said nobody's getting anything except for my children and our parents, and that's it. And I don't feel bad about that. I feel good. I feel empowered. I feel relieved because I don't have to think about what size somebody wears, what character they like, if my aunt would like this book, if my uncle would like this sweater. Like I don't have to think about it. It's like a relief. I can walk through the mall if I want to, and I'm not like constantly thinking about what do I have to buy somebody, because ain't nobody getting nothing. So I am very excited about that decision I made for myself. I certainly don't make more money around the holidays. So really, like I was pulling out of my savings to buy Christmas gifts. So I'm just like really happy that I don't have to worry about Christmas shopping. And I sent out a text to my friends and family saying, please don't feel compelled to buy the kids anything, because I'm not buying anybody anything this year. And I'm done. And I feel good. And it's over.
Wow. We know what your remedy is.
I'm in the same place as you. I'm with you. I don't buy I don't know if we arrived there at a good place, but me and my brother, we were just like, it kind of cancels out and get you something.
Exactly.
So, everybody I can't have that same conversation with, but in my family, I pretty much get things for my kids, and maybe we pick a family amongst my wife's kids, my wife's brothers. She has brothers, so everybody picks a family and they'll get some gifts for that family, but it's a lot of kids not getting all these gifts for everybody.
Exactly.
So, at any rate, so we're
okay. So the question was, what are the signs and symptoms that we should be looking for
if a person is more withdrawn, if they are sort of like sleeping a lot longer, kind of in a dark room, if there's like weight loss. In some cases, it might be weight gain, caused by eating. If there is like extended sadness, if it seems like you're walking around on eggshells around a person because they're just edgy, they're angry a lot, that could be a sign of depression too.
Probably drinking, right?
Drinking can be
okay. Gee, I see you dropping this
Yep. Drinking more than usual too. Not like your glass of wine at night necessarily, but if you find that the person is drinking quite a bit and it's like an uptick in the drinking, then that could be a bit there. If they're using like burden language in terms of how they talk about themselves, like they see themselves as a burden, they see themselves as worthless to some extent, then that could be a sign as well. But it's just hard to do things. They lack energy when you see a person who is depressed. And so if you see any of those signs, in a great shift in their personality that lasts for more than, typically for a diagnosis, like you have a time frame, right? Like
Okay.
it can't just be for like a day or two. But around the holidays, it's more situational. And so you have like situational depression, and you might have more like, a person who has like it just happens, right? Where it's like it's not based on the situation, they just feel depressed. And so with the situational depression, of course, you don't have that same like 6-week or what have you time frame. So you're just kind of noticing maybe a couple days that this person is down or in the dumps, kind of in the fog. And in that case, those are all the signs that would kind of clue you in that person is feeling depressed.
That's good. So people, anyone listening, watching, I want you all to look out for those signs, because we have to be our brother's keepers. We have to help each other when we notice something is wrong. Ryan, how do you approach it? Like there's always like a really sensitive topic and a sensitive like subject, and you don't want to be accusing people and you don't want to offend them and push them away. So what's a strategy that a person can use to approach their loved one if they feel like they are noticing those changes that you mentioned?
Yeah, so one is just to check on them with open-ended questions. And so like not with the assumption that the person is depressed, but just what's going on.
Like a what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, like, hey, I noticed you, what's going on? Keep it open. Because one thing that I notice is when you jump to an emotion before a person has arrived there, sometimes they don't always respond the greatest. Like, hey, I've been noticing you have been a bit angry lately, or I've been noticing particularly angry. Like people get defensive,
and they're gonna get defensive.
and so or you look sad lately. And so if you just keep it open and check on the person, that can be helpful. You can invite them to do certain things. And so if you notice they're a little standoffish, some people tell me that, like, I feel this way because I don't think anybody's thinking about me. I don't feel like I'm an afterthought. Nobody really invites me to do stuff, but then after the fact, they call me up and ask me like, what happened to you? Let them know that you're thinking about them, give them the invitation and let them choose if they're going to do it or not. But even if a person has said no a number of times, continue to invite your loved ones to do certain things and to connect, because it really means a lot. It means a whole lot. Another way you can, check on them is depending on your family, situation. Like I had a family member that didn't respond a few times, like to a text message, and then I called them. I escalated it to a call, and then they didn't respond. Knocked on the door. I knocked on the door, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from you in a while." And it was like, "Oh, and they could tell me the situation." But not everybody's open to that. But I want them to know that I'm here for you, care about you. And when people start opening up, you don't want to talk them out of it, right? Like you don't want to kind of rush them into joy or tell them it's going to be all right if it's not.
Yeah.
You want to be able to be in it with them to some extent, knowing that being there with them, allowing them that space to open up and share with you helps them feel connected. I think a lot of times we're afraid that if a person is in sadness, they'll get stuck there. And so we don't go into it with them. But when we go into it with them, it gives them a way out. It's like, that's the problem. I don't know who I can talk to about this. Right. And so once you make yourself that person, you can't be it all the time. But once you make yourself that person, it lets them know, like, I'm not in this by myself. I have somebody that can connect, that gets it. Particularly if you can share, not to make it about you, but if you have a similar experience, you had, you lost a grandparent that was close to you, right? Like now it's like, oh, that person gets me. They understand.
Yeah.
I don't have that dish from my grandma, or I don't have that thing. And then at the end, you can come up with what you can do as a family. Like maybe we leave the seat open for grandma, or maybe we make her favorite recipe that she would make.
I like that.
And then you had that. Nobody can do it like grandma, but now you're talking about grandma, right?
Right.
And maybe there's some laughter, there's some jokes you can talk about how she was as a person. You incorporate and integrate people who are not there, but you got to start with where they are before you can get to a solution.
Absolutely. What other coping strategies do you suggest for people who may be feeling depressed and may need some help to get through the season?
One is, if it's a loss, you want to have a script. Like, what do you want to say to people? How do you want to open up? Because a lot of people feel more prepared for a connection when they have a script. And so if you have that script where you can say, like, all right, if somebody asks me this question about this loss, if they ask me about the divorce, if they ask me about whatever, then this is what I'm going to say. When you already know what you're going to say, it can help you out a lot. Where if you just kind of caught off guard, you're not prepared for that, that might be a reason why you don't go, because you don't want to talk about it. Another thing is, if you're feeling depressed, to set smaller goals. We might be trying to do too much. And when you're coming from a depressed place, you don't want to approach life the same way you would if you're not depressed. And so setting some smaller goals. I just want to get up today.
Right.
That's it. I want to go to the store. I want to, take a drive, but it's like you pare it down. I want to open up my computer. It's small goals, because depression feels permanent and you just feel stuck. And so if there's any movement whatsoever, you can begin to get yourself out of it. But if you have this big to-do list and all these things that you want to do, you're going to feel like you're not good enough. Oh, I didn't do anything with my day, all that kind of stuff, and it's going to set you back. So setting small goals, setting boundaries with people, it's okay to take care of yourself and create the space that you need, but set boundaries with people. You can't show up for them in a certain way right now. Maybe you're accustomed to, but you just can't. And that is okay. And so setting those boundaries is good as well. And you might want to do more one-on-one connections. It's like, I may not come to the Christmas dinner, but maybe we can catch up the day after for, breakfast, or lunch or something like that. Let's go catch up with coffee, because the one-on-one interactions might work a little bit better for you right now than being in a larger group. Those are some options that are available to you around this time.
Yeah.
I think those were excellent.
But one more thing before you finish, Ryan. I would also just suggest it to certain people that I know, like, lost their kids, and like, if they come up with like a something in their honor, like to continue that feelings and continue and keep that name flowing. Like, I know a lot of parents that might have lost their kids through whatever reasons, through gunshot victims, talk to certain families or whatever. And I told them to try to continue their name. So either try to get back to other children, or surround yourself with other like-minded people that's in these type of situations, and come up with, maybe some type of either hotline, or come up with something where you can continue their name, in a light where you're helping other people like yourself.
Absolutely.
G, you got the knowledge today. G is spilling
I had
the
to catch up.
knowledge.
Yeah.
That was a good suggestion. And Ryan, all of yours was good as well. And shout out to Miss Austin, who agrees that you are offering some really great suggestions. So thanks, Ryan. Thanks for joining us today. We will have you back on. We look forward to the next time you come through. But I hope everyone can use these to help themselves or to help their families get through the holiday season, because it's not as joyous for everyone as we may think it is. Before we close out, just want to remind you all to protect yourselves. It's a lot of viruses going around. I will be masking up in public if you hadn't been. Remember to keep your hands sanitized. But the most important thing you can do is get the vaccines. If you hadn't gotten your flu shot, get your flu shot. If you haven't got your first COVID dose, get your first so you can get your second. If you haven't gotten the new booster that came out in September, get the new booster. We have to do what we can to protect ourselves, our families, our communities. It's up to us to do that. We did have a COVID and a flu vaccine event at the high school Friday. We had a good time there. We won't have another one probably until MLK Day in Chester. So look out for the details around that. But we'll be back up MLK Day. If you need to get a vaccine before then, don't wait until that event, you can get it done before then. You can contact the local pharmacy or the health department and take care of yourself. But until next Wednesday at 12:15, y'all take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you then.
All right, keep it 100.
And so I think it's important that you understand the clinical trial process. I'm not saying the pill is bad. I just want you to think about how to make health decisions for yourself.